Почитувани присутни,
Distinguished guests, welcome to the joint press conference of the President of the Republic of North Macedonia, Mr. Stevo Pendarovski, and the President of Georgia, Ms. Salome Zourabichvili. Before the press conference, I announced the signing ceremony of two legal acts aimed at deepening the cooperation between the two countries, agreement between the Republic of North Macedonia and Georgia on visa exemption, and a memorandum of cooperation in the field of culture between the Ministry of Culture of the Republic of North Macedonia and the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth of Georgia. Therefore, I invite President Pendarovski and President Zourabichvili to sign the visa exemption agreement between the Republic of North Macedonia and Georgia.
ის რესპუბლიკის მთავრობებს შორის ვიზის მიღების ვალდებულებისაგან გათავისუფლების შესახებ შეთანხმებას. ხელს აწერენ საქართველოს პრეზიდენტი ქალბატონი სალომე ზურაბიშვილი და ჩრდილოეთ მაკედონიის პრეზიდენტი ბატონი სტევო პენდაროვსკი.
ви благодарам.
Thank you.
Сега почитувани
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the signing of the Memorandum of Cooperation in the field of culture. I invite the Minister of Culture of the Republic of North Macedonia, Ms. Irena Stefoska, and the Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth of Georgia, Ms. Tea Tsukiani, to sign the memorandum.
საქართველოს კულტურის, სპორტისა და ახალგაზრდობის სამინისტროსა და ჩრდილოეთ მაკედონიის რესპუბლიკის კულტურის სამინისტროს შორის კულტურის სფეროში თანამშრომლობის შესახებ მემორანდუმს. ხელს აწერენ საქართველოს კულტურის, სპორტისა და ახალგაზრდობის მინისტრი ქალბატონი თეა წულუკიანი და ჩრდილოეთ მაკედონიის რესპუბლიკის კულტურის მინისტრი ქალბატონი ირენა სტეფოსკა.
ви благодариме.
Thank you. Now I ask the ministers to take their seats. Thank you. We shall proceed with the joint press conference of President Pendarovski and President Zourabichvili. After the introductory statements, the question session is to come next. Mr. President, please, the floor is yours. Distinguished President of Georgia, Madam Zourabichvili, respected media representatives, ladies and gentlemen, today we have great pleasure on behalf of the Macedonian citizens to warmly welcome the President of Georgia, Her Excellency, Madam Salome Zourabichvili. This first, and thus I would say historic visit at the highest level takes place very shortly after the establishment of diplomatic relations between our two countries on February 16, 2019. Symbolically, we are connected by a very important jubilee. This year, both North Macedonia and Georgia are celebrating 30 years of independence. We from the acquisition of independence and Georgia from the restoration of its independence. Although in the past decades we have occasionally cooperated within international organizations, the time has come to raise our relations from the margins of international forums to the highest level. The pandemic slowed down the projected dynamics of the meetings, but this first official visit is an opportunity to make up for the lost time. Today, therefore, we talked with President Zourabichvili about advancing our bilateral relations in the coming period. We will do most of the steps for the first time. Therefore, we need to seize this moment and create a solid foundation for the development of bilateral relations. And the first step in that direction is, of course, the regulation and promotion of the legal framework. North Macedonia and Georgia have an extremely rich natural and cultural historical heritage. Hence, two important documents were recently signed. The first is the agreement between the two countries on the exemption of visas to facilitate the travel of Macedonians and Georgian citizens. The second document is a memorandum of cooperation in the field of culture between our Ministry of Culture and the Georgian Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth. These two documents should be the legal basis for tourism development and overall economic and cultural cooperation between the two countries. Our agreements are in the process. An unwritten rule is that those who are the first to break into the market will achieve the greatest success. Therefore, on this occasion, I would like to encourage businessmen from North Macedonia and Georgia to use this opportunity to establish contacts and work on business partnerships for mutual benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, today President Zourabichvili and I exchanged views on topics related to our foreign policy priorities in the context of the stability and security of the European continent. We concluded that although we are territorially small countries located in different regions, we share similar strategic foreign policy priorities. As a NATO member, we support Georgia's right to build the closest possible relations with the alliance. It is a sovereign choice of the Georgian people, and in that regard, we are ready to deepen the cooperation through partnership mechanisms. At the same time, like the European Union, we, as a candidate country, strongly support Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders. At the same time, we support the Geneva International talks, which remain the only mechanism by which all stakeholders engage in resolving the challenges arising from the unresolved internal conflict in Georgia. In conclusion, I would like to stress once again that I believe that with this first visit of a high-ranking Georgian statesman, we are writing history in the relations between our two friendly countries and peoples. Hence, Your Excellency, once again, on behalf of the Macedonian citizens, I wish you a warm welcome in North Macedonia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Greetings, everyone. Today is a historical day for Georgia and North Macedonia relations. I'm the first president of Georgia who paid an official visit to Skopje, and this is an honor for me. Our country's diplomatic relations are counting only 2 years. However, in this small period of time, we have seen that both our countries need to deepen and strengthen this relationship. After our first meeting with President Pendarovsky, which took place in January 2020, the world witnessed the unprecedented challenges created by the global pandemic. It has been more than a year that the world is fighting the invisible enemy. The pandemic has practically stopped international relations. This crisis especially affected small countries. We realize better than anyone that only through solidarity and cooperation it is possible to overcome the global crisis. Solidarity has to be reflected in vaccine accessibility as well. Georgia and North Macedonia are united by many things in common. Integration in the EU and NATO is the way chosen by you and by us, Georgia. In order to successfully move this way, the support of our partner countries is important, especially that of a country that has passed this pass. We appreciate North Macedonia's wishes to share their experience with us. The Western Balkans EU integration process serves also as an example for Georgia. Mr. President and I discussed the existing situation on Georgia's occupied territories, borderization process, illegal detentions, and kidnappings. And just recently, Zaza Gacheladze's detention, his unlawful detention, and talked about the issues that are directly related to the creation of escalation and tensions artificially. We also discussed the current situation in the region and in Ukraine, as well as Russia's militarization process in the Black Sea and the Caucasus region. The response to this escalation is one. The NATO summit's messages has to be very clear and important, both for Georgia and Ukraine. It is one and only non-confrontational response to this crisis. One of the most important aims of my visit is deepening bilateral ties between our countries. Few minutes ago, with President Pendarovsky, I signed the agreement on the visa exemption, which frees our citizens from obtaining visas while traveling in the respective two countries. This agreement will strengthen the interchange of our visitors and will enhance our relations in tourism, economy, and other important spheres. Today, we also formalized a very important memorandum on cooperation in the field of culture, which was signed by the Minister of Culture of Georgia and North Macedonia. This is an expression of a new phase of the relations between our countries and our peoples. During our meeting, I also offered Mr. President the initiative to unite our small countries to consolidate our vision in face of those global changes such as climate change and protection of our environment, where the word of small countries, if not the united stance, cannot be heard by our larger partners. We also talked about the issues that are important for both countries and on which we can deepen our relationships, such as cybersecurity, fake news, issue of fake news, deepening the cooperation on cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. I wish that our bilateral ties deepen and strengthen after my first visit, and I hope that, Mr. President, you will visit us in Georgia in near future. And thank you for this visit on my and my delegation's behalf. Thank you.
Distinguished media representatives, questions? Goran Simonovsky, Citel Television. I have a question to both presidents. First to President Zourabichvili. Welcome to Macedonia. My question is, how do you comment the obstacles that Macedonia is facing on the European path, the Bulgarian veto, and does it, as a country as Georgia, discourages you because you have the same ambitions, which is membership in the European Union? To Pendarovsky, his opinion about the Euro Enlargement Commissioner, about the division of Macedonia and Albania on its Euro integration path. Thank you.
In Georgian or English? English?
No, it's up to you.
So the answer to that is that we have seen that North Macedonia has been able to overcome in the past years that type of obstacles and maybe even more serious obstacles in its way to joining NATO. So I'm convinced that in the same manner, North Macedonia will be able to overcome the present obstacle that it is faced with. And we, small countries that have been in the past very resilient, we have seen historical many events, many invasions, occupations in the past centuries. So we are learning that you have to be resilient, you have to be stubborn, you have to know what is the direction in which you're going. And small countries, I think we are optimists because we see the results. And for us, Georgia, the result that North Macedonia reached in being accepted as a member of NATO is a very strong statement and a very strong signal that the door of NATO is really open, that it's not only wording but a reality, and that is something that gives us optimism. At the same time, the beginning, and I'm sure that will happen soon, of the accession talks for North Macedonia will equally be a very important signal for Georgia, because as we have said together, it is our common perspective and path. Thank you.
You have said the right word, to be stubborn, while trying to achieve our strategic goals. Na makedonskih odgovorim. Well, I will continue in Macedonian. Не би сакал да ја толкувам изјавата на
I do not want to comment on the statement of the Euro Commissioner on enlargement, he speaks about the potential possibility of that to happen if that dispute between North Macedonia and Bulgaria is taking ages, as it was the case with Greece. I assure you that in the talks with him and all the talks in Brussels, absolutely at all levels, this issue was not raised about the separation with the Republic of Albania. Literally everyone, you will also hear today that Prime Minister Zaev today is Brussels, absolutely in the Parliament, in the Council, no one is thinking of such a division, but all the efforts and all strengths are focused on having the first intergovernmental conference held by the end of the year. Distinguished colleagues, if you have other questions, please. Hello, Canal 5 TV. One internal political question. A day after the meeting with the VMRO President Mickovski, he said that there is discrepancy in the statements delivered by you and by he himself about the events on April 27. He said that at the meeting you had understanding, you shared understanding, but very briefly you changed your opinion, and these are his words. I had also a reaction that followed his statement, in which I said that both in diplomacy and in politics, when you do not come with a joint press conference, then you have different views. Yes, we had joint statements or views on the April 27th, but we didn't come up with a joint press conference signed by both parties. So I do not have anything to comment on further. However, my views on April 27 did not depend on the meeting with Mickovski. My views on the events are absolutely the same. Other questions? Please. Again, internal policy question. Your statement and position on April 27th raised many questions in the society, because that statement brought the citizens to think that you would ask the same from the courts and from the other politically motivated events, such as the Kumanovo event and some others. Would you have the same position on that again? And do you think that political attitude should be for a judicial procedure? I do not have such an attitude. This is a complete finalized court verdict. The process is over, and in my statement I quote provision from the criminal code. One of the processes that you mentioned was repeated, so there was again a reopening of the case thanks to the provision of the criminal code. If you interfere in the judiciary, then it is a mistake that you make. But if you say that I have evidence, not the court, and based on those evidence, then I expect the case to be reopened. And if this is the case, the legal procedure should be followed first by the lawyers, and then to it is not an interference if you quote an article of the criminal code. With this, we finish the press conference today. Thank you for your attention.